Welcome to the Rooted Lounge, where we break down the 3 core relationships that shape everything about your life as a mom: your relationship with yourself, your partner, and your kids. We're Monica and Michelle, therapists turned mom coaches, and we know firsthand that motherhood isn't just diapers and to-do lists. It's an identity shift that touches every part of who you are. This ain't your mama's motherhood. Here, we mix real mom talk, a little humor, and a lot of truth to help you feel more grounded, connected, and fully alive in your life as a mom. So grab your coffee, hide in the bathroom if you have to, and let's get into today's conversation. Hey everyone, welcome back to the Rooted Lounge. So today we are talking about year-end reflections for moms and what we're going to be taking into 2026 with us. So we are hoping that it is growth and healing and intentional motherhood, but we are going to do a little bit of a recap of kind of how this past year was for us. And just anything that we really want to bring with us intentionally into this new year. So
have it be a little bit reflective, a little bit more honest. Obviously talk about, what all of you moms can bring in intentionally as well, and share our experience, because we're obviously moms, business owners, and, we've had a full year of things happen to us too. So we'll do some personal reflection there that hopefully some of you can relate to, and then we'll kind of go from there. Yeah. I actually love this time of year to do this type of reflection. And I feel like I've been doing it for quite some time. And again, with intention, not just I'm going to buy a new planner and I'm going to write all this stuff out. And because I've definitely been there before too, where I'm going to get this planner and I'm going to write all these things down. And then I don't look at it 3 months later. Yeah. Or you set your New Year's resolution that only works for 2 weeks. Yeah. So I think since becoming a mom, just being more intentional about what, the quarter, the month, the year is going to look like has been really helpful for me, because we're always looking forward and setting these goals, and which is obviously important, but we also don't take a step back to actually look at the year we've had. We're always let's set these goals. Let's set the resolutions or whatever for the beginning of the year. But really, how can you do that without reflecting on what we have done?
Yeah. That quote comes to mind of you can't know where you're going unless you know where you've been, or something like that. That's what made me think about that.
Yeah. Because I don't know if you feel this way, but I know a lot of moms, and I say it's days feel really long, but the years feel really short. You're like, oh my gosh, it's November. Where did the time go? But yet you're my Wednesday just took 7 years off my life. And so I think that just kind of reflecting on how fast our years actually move and how much change happens both internally and externally. And if we're not going to sit back and kind of reflect on it, we just keep moving.
Yeah. Keep going through the motions. And I like to call it, you just keep getting swept away, So I think that this is a great time of year for multiple reasons. And I think that we can get swept away with the holidays, and it's very easy to, just focus on that side of things. But I think that it is really important to be able to reflect on these things and really think about the good, the bad, the ugly, what happened over this past year. Because I think typically it's just oh, wow, the year went by really fast. And then it was just
period.
That's it. Yeah. And then it's just moving on to the next thing. But
yeah, especially with holidays being overwhelming and busy, and especially for moms, that again, we haven't slowed down. And then it's the new year and we're oh my God, now it's January 1 of the new year. And what?
Yeah. Right. Yeah. And I feel like it takes moms in particular, this, there's this delayed recovery process that they go through in the beginning of the year, because it's such a whirlwind, of things, with the holidays, and then it just passes, and then you get into the new year and you're oh my God, okay, guess we're on to the next thing, you know. So I think to start us off is to talk a little bit more specifically around kind of our own reflections and the year that we've had as women and moms. So where we'd like to start is with one thing that has challenged us the most as a mom specifically. So I don't know if you want to dive into that first.
Yeah, totally. I feel like, again, like every day, right, there's like a new challenge, but when you're actually sitting down being like, okay, what has challenged you the most? What has shifted for you the most? And I would say like this is a very pivotal year for me. I mean, I'm going from one child to two. I got pregnant in April, so earlier on in the year. And I I have found the most challenging thing is like taking care of myself, my body, this pregnancy, and also showing up fully, not just for everybody around me, but specifically for my son. He still requires a lot of attention and things, medically. And even though it's gotten so much better over the last 3 years, right, like there's been a lot of shifts for him. And of course, like he's getting older and he's communicating more and he's having more behaviors. And right, like he is now like what you would consider a typical 2.5. Well, now he's 3, but like at the time when I got pregnant, like 2.5-year-old. And so it was really challenging for me to manage my own emotions of a second pregnancy and hoping that it would be a healthy one, which luckily it has been. And just kind of being present and still giving to him as much as I had before. And I find funny, I'm dead. I'm 4 weeks out from when I'm going to have this baby. And it's funny because I think that that's still a challenge for me. It's like, how do, and I'm sure every parent feels this way when they go from 1 to 2, like, how do you give to your firstborn, as much? And I think that it hits me really hard because I have just thrown everything into him, advocating for his medical needs and his academic needs and just like everything and anything. And so that is just interesting to me to kind of reflect on, to be like, okay, this has been challenging being pregnant, but what is that going to look like come the new year? So
that makes me think of, for me, the parallel with that is I remember vividly thinking, how can I possibly have enough love to give to a second child?
Yeah, for sure.
I'm like, I don't know if it's possible. And people that I would talk to, they'd be like, it's possible.
Yeah.
And I'm like, but how? Like, I love her so much.
Yeah. Yes.
So
and it's possible, right? Like totally. Yeah.
Totally. And that's the thing, is like, wow, I didn't realize how much love I had to give. But then I also think that the capacity or something of the love, like the pool of love,
it just gets bigger.
It gets bigger. Yeah. So like you have more to pull from.
Yeah.
So
I think my fear a lot comes from like the need, right? Like he needed so much from me in the first 2.5 years that like luckily he hasn't needed as much in the last 8 months, really, ever since I've gotten pregnant. So I think that that's also helped a lot, even though it's still nerve-wracking for me. It's like, okay, like his needs do not look like they did a year and a half ago. They just don't. Yeah. And like, I don't need to force it to be the same because it isn't. So
yeah. So this just kind of general sense of whether it is what you experience with like the intensity of his needs versus mine, where it was just like, how much love do I have to give? That the overarching kind of theme of that is like, do we have enough? Blank, that follow. Do I have enough love to give? Do you have enough capacity maybe to be able to meet his needs and then meet another child's needs? So this like, is there enough to give?
Yeah, totally. Yeah. And I think that's so challenging.
Yeah.
How about for you?
Yeah, for me, I think this particular year, what sticks out the most to me is navigating being a mom with a child that is getting older and that is kind of moving into, you know, new phases of life and how what role I play in that. So like I think of it as I think one of the hardest things about being a parent is knowing where that line is from when do I step in and really do what I can to help, to support, to guide, and when is it more appropriate to step back and be like, you got this, or like you need to figure this out on your own.
Yeah, like that shift from like 100% nurture to like being like their coach or being their like, you know,
being more of a guide. Like, yeah. So that has been an interesting.
Well, you're still like the nurturing, like I have to do so much for your youngest, you know, like so now you're navigating both of them and not just putting your energy into like one of the roles or the other. So and
just how the problems, like the problems change
for sure.
Where like, you know, when they're younger, it's like, you know, the toy that they were playing with broke, you know, versus like self-esteem things, like friendships, you know, like their view of themselves really starts to come through. And it's been an interesting, you know, hard phase to get into. So I think that for me has been the most challenging this year is stepping into that phase of motherhood.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So we'll see. Keep you posted.
Yeah, right. Seriously, right. Yep. While you're navigating the two different roles, I'll let you know how it goes. Like just bringing another kid into the world. It'll be a good reflection next year. How about one thing that you're proud of yourself for? It could be as a mom. It could, I mean, really, it could be as anything.
Yeah,
we can focus on the mom piece, but if there's something else that comes to mind.
I mean, I think I'm proud of myself for a bunch of different things this past year, but particularly I'll speak to as a mom. I think with the challenge that I just mentioned, that I do feel proud of the way that I have been showing up as a mom and trying to not necessarily pick a side of do I lean in or do I step back, but more so of really trying to balance it as like as needed, you know. So like maybe in this particular situation, like I needed to lean in more, and then maybe, you know, in a different situation, like I needed to take a little bit more of a step back. So I think it's just feeling feeling proud in the sense that I have been able to not like figure this out, because I don't have it figured out. I don't know if moms ever figure things out.
Not a shot.
No, but like I'm feeling really good about how I've been exploring that for myself, and
not so rigid that it has to be one or the other, that it can be both simultaneously.
That I've also been very collaborative too with my oldest, because it's not like, well, I'm the mom, so I have all the answers, so I'm just going to tell you what to do or how to do it, or
I love that.
Whatever, but more so of like, how can I best support you? Like, what do you need from me?
I love that so much. Oh my gosh, I love that so much.
I feel really proud.
That's so good. I love that so much. Especially because I feel like in that scenario, like we may not have gotten that ourselves. Like,
Mm.
again, like, you know, wisdom's important, but I don't know, I got a lot of wisdom, right? And it was like, okay, like I got to do it that way. And so I love the fact that it is more collaborative and really asking what they need, because what they need is potentially not what we need, right? Or like what we would have done in that situation. And so I think that's great. I love that so much.
Or even like what they need might not be something I can even offer too, right?
Yeah,
so
totally.
It's like,
oh, that's a good point.
How can I still support you in a way where maybe I'm not the one that's providing the direct support, but maybe I'm facilitating a way that you can be supported in a different way.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
I love that.
I think that the next kind of bullet point around these reflections is like one way that you grew that people didn't see. And I think that would be it for me, is like just kind of navigating all of that. And I think for me, feeling really, really good about the relationship that I am building, you know, with my oldest, as you know, as she steps into these new phases of her life, and then how that, you know, ends up rippling into how it's affecting my next phase.
Oh,
of
yeah,
motherhood,
for totally.
you know?
Yeah,
So,
yeah, absolutely.
yeah.
Because that's going to look different as well. And knowing that it's not just like her kind of developmental stage, but your own stage of motherhood too.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what about you? What's one way that you grew that maybe people haven't seen?
Oh,
aside from the belly growing.
Besides my belly growing, I mean, I've said this in some way or another in other episodes, but I've really done and attempted to do a lot of the internal work, because I knew getting pregnant a second time was going to be really, really emotionally taxing. And so I think just setting boundaries for myself, and the way that I look at not only my relationships, but how I look at the world around me and how I look at myself. And I really took the time to kind of dig into that. And again, not something that I tend to really share with people, that I just feel like my perspective has shifted and has grown in a way that has been really healing for me. And a lot of, you know, my supports, coaching, therapy, I mean, even like my chiropractor, right? Like, you know, most of them had said like, this pregnancy would probably be really healing for you. And I like got through more than halfway through my pregnancy, and I was like, I don't really feel healed yet. Like, I don't know what that means. I was like, I'm still freaking out over here. But I think now that I'm coming to the end, like I knew I probably would have felt it once she was here, but I think that and that kind of goes with what I'm proud of too, is that like, it wasn't even healing of like, oh, my body can do this and everybody's healthy. Like, it's not even that. Like, it's more of just like growing into, you know, a different mom and a different person. And really, I let a lot, or I try to at least, but I let a lot more go than I ever did before. And more of like, don't get me wrong, I still get irritable and anxious, and you know what I mean? Like, I definitely hold on to things, but I think that like my worry and my fear has really dissipated a lot in a lot of different ways, for myself, for other people. And I really just try to go about my life, my son's life, my family life in a way that really just feels good to me. So I think that being proud of that, and that was like my growth process. That a lot of times I'm not anxious about a lot of things anymore, because I've gone through so much extreme things in the last 3 years that I just like me going through the rest of my life feeling as off kiltered as I did the last 3 years. I just am like, it's not worth it. You know? So super proud of myself for that, because I think a lot of times we hinder ourselves to be like, are we ever going to get there? Which was definitely me at the beginning of the year. Like, I don't know if I can do this. Right.
Yeah.
I think we all have those thoughts sometimes.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. 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 And that makes me think of, we started this episode by saying, like, what are you going to carry into 2026? And
yeah.
I think that is really, that language is intentional,
Yeah, for
because
sure.
we do carry so much that weighs us down, and that, we just hang on to things that are no longer serving us, and we need to know when it's time to let that stuff
Let
go.
it go.
Like, I like to talk about it or visualize it as like a backpack, like the baggage that you're carrying. And, over time, I mean, there's not going to be enough, space in that backpack anymore.
Or like, strength. I mean, even for you to fall over, you know what I mean? Yeah.
No, absolutely. It's kind of like in a sense, I think too, of the like Mary Poppins bag, where like it's infinite. So like, you technically could just keep piling things in, and then you're just going to keep going, but you're going to be like,
yes,
like, how can I actually get by? But just thinking of it in that way of like, and why these reflections, these end of year reflections, are so important, because at least once a year you can, think about all of these things, think about what you are holding on to, and what are the things that I want to intentionally carry with me, because it serves me in some, productive way. And then where are the other things that I need to let that stuff go, because it's just not helpful.
Yeah, absolutely. And maybe we're also and this is for me too, like reflecting on the experiences you had that year that are also going to allow you to let go of, maybe all of it, pieces of it, because even going into this year, I definitely had let go of some things, but not everything. Right. Yeah. And so even if it's, takes 3 years for you to kind of continue to build and bring things into the new year and leave the other stuff behind, in X amount of years, like that backpack is going to be like free of rubble, and that's a metaphor that I'm kind of like, I like that metaphor, because that's kind of how it's kind of ironic that I'm also having this baby like right at the end of the year too, because although obviously different challenges and things will come up again, as they always do starting the new year, but it'll be really nice to kind of be able to let go of like what the last 3 years have done to me, and just be able to kind of, I don't know, become what I've always wanted to become, like as a mom,
Yeah. Yeah, I like the part, or at least how I'm interpreting part of what you just said about, like, sometimes there are things that we know we need to let go of, but there's still some function that it's serving for us, so it's not quite like ready to be released. And the thought that came to mind was like leaves, where sometimes there are leaves that just hang on, and they just are not ready to drop yet.
Yeah, no, it's such a good metaphor.
It's like, well, so much. Because again, we live somewhere where there are 4 very distinct seasons, so we're getting to the end of fall and approaching winter, and
where I can literally look out the window and I see
looking out the window, and some of these leaves that are all dried up, but they're hanging on, and sooner or later they will probably fall off. But I think it's important too to know, or not know, but to maybe like tune into yourself and be like, okay, like this thing is hanging on by a thread. Like, do I really need to keep hanging on to it, or like, is it finally time to let this thing go?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that leads me to the next kind of point of what was a moment that you chose yourself specifically? Because as moms, we know our experiences a a lot around other people, our kids, our spouses, our partners, extended family, what have you. And we do a lot of focus on our external kind of world and surroundings. Mm-hmm. And, we forget about ourselves. So
yeah,
I really want, we really want to be able to highlight, moments where you chose yourself, even if it felt uncomfortable.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's like key phrase, right?
Yeah.
Even when it felt uncomfortable. Yeah. The first thing that comes to mind for me, I don't necessarily know if I felt uncomfortable doing it, but the one thing that I did throughout this year in choosing myself was like any time that I felt really anxious or I felt disconnected or I kind of felt any of the emotions that we tend to talk about a lot on the podcast, that I would take the time, what do I need? And so most of the time I've been actually doing yoga like once a week. And so really, and I've mentioned that in some of our other episodes. And I set the time, and again, not necessarily felt uncomfortable about giving that to myself, but like really making sure I was paying attention of like, okay, do I need to go and do this right now? Like, do I need to go and be in silence? Do I need to go pull my tarot cards? Do I need to go, because I could just let it go weeks and weeks and weeks, and then it's going to feel more uncomfortable for me too. So that's the first one. That's not the greatest. I don't know if that's the greatest example, but that's the first one that came to me.
Yeah. I think for me, there's not maybe a specific moment that comes to mind, but more so of as a whole in this past year. I mean, I've been on a personal development journey for a while, and I am very happy with the progress that I have made in this year in particular. I feel like this year was very pivotal for me.
Yeah, sure.
So and it, hasn't been all rainbows and cupcakes.
No, for sure.
Challenges and uncomfortable emotions and things of that nature. But I'm very grateful that I was able to prioritize that for myself so that I can get to the place where I am today, which will then help me, moving forward.
Yeah, great. I love that.
Yeah. So, lessons that we are not leaving behind for 2026. So, we already kind of alluded to this with like the carrying, we were talking more about like carrying baggage. So more of the unproductive stuff, but like, what are the lessons, the
beliefs, the patterns that we want to bring with us?
Yeah.
We talk so much about like taking care of ourselves, and I kind of want to like, be really simplistic about it. But I am such a believer in bringing in this belief that like you are worthy of not just being a mom, but worthy of all these other aspects of yourself. And that, again, like keep kind of repeating ourselves, but like my belief is that I can show up as a mom and I can show up as a wife and a friend and, a business owner, a therapist, a whatever, right? Like I can do all of these things. I can say no. I can call my, support system, be like, hey, do you want to take the kiddos for a little bit, so that I can have space to do, or just to be, not even to do, just to be. Right. So I don't know if I articulated that well, but I think the belief system that I want to take in, and honestly, I want every mom to take into 2026 is that like you are more than one thing, and you are worthy of all of these other things, and give yourself the ability to do and be.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. I mean, I think that that's the ultimate goal, right? Is that we, all moms can, see themselves for more than just the roles that they have. Like, because there is a difference between, your self identity as a whole person versus like the roles that you play. Yeah, and I guess to just add to that is, what is something that you feel like you learned about the relationship with yourself specifically in this past year? So not even like your relationship with yourself as a mom, but just yourself as a whole person. Like, what is something the year taught you about yourself?
Who are you?
About your relationship with yourself.
Yeah.
And I think, so I know that I just posed that question to you, but I think one thing that I want to add to that is, I think a lot of people don't maybe always think of it in that way, that we have a relationship with ourselves. And it is like the number one top relationship, because who do we have at the end of our day? Ourselves.
Yeah, that's it.
Who do we have at the end of our lives? Like ourselves.
Yeah. I mean, we say so many, like, I think positive and negative things, like you were saying that, and I was like, we say so many negative things to ourselves about ourselves. So it's like our sense of self is it.
Yeah.
Right? Like, we wouldn't, like, I don't know, whatever, some terrible thing you say about yourself, if you say that to another person, like, you're not going to have a relationship with that person, probably, right? Yeah. So if you're selling that stuff to yourself, how do you have a relationship with yourself? You don't like yourself. Yeah. So I mean, that could be another episode in and of itself, but
yeah, but I think it's so important that people recognize that not only do we have a relationship with ourselves, but that is the most important relationship. That is the like core relationship that then branches off into the relationships that you're able to have with other people.
Right.
And those relationships are supplements
of who?
To the relationship that you have with yourself. And I think people have it so backwards.
Yeah.
And I used to think that too.
Absolutely.
Where like, oh no, like I need to have all these friends, or I need to just really focus on maintaining these relationships with these other people, while I'm like, oh, hi, like I have a relationship with myself. Like, I need to get to know myself. Like, who the heck am I? And like, who am I becoming? And, and all that stuff.
Yeah, so, because you are the one who is showing up in those relationships, right? So you don't have that relationship with yourself and it doesn't evolve over time. How are you showing up for those relationships?
Yeah, exactly.
And yeah, I mean, the relationships that you end up having like are somewhat of a reflection of who you are and how you feel about yourself, and on either end of the spectrum, and even in the middle, so I think that was a great point to make, for sure.
Yeah. So this leads me to talking about the rooted motherhood philosophy, where the three core relationships are the ones that we have with ourselves, with our partner, and with our kids. And we always like to bring in metaphors and visual representations of things. And I think one way that we like to think about this philosophy is with a tree, where the relationship we have with ourselves is the root of the tree. The relationship we have with our partners, our spouse, or the father of our children is the trunk of the tree, and then our kids are the branches. So if we don't have that solid foundation with ourselves, then none of these other pieces, can happen. So it really just points to the importance of the relationship that we have with ourselves. And again, like, I know that today we're talking specifically about the end of year reflection, and as important as that is, like, I think we really want to encourage you to reflect as often as possible, and keep checking in with yourself, because it not that it shouldn't be like just a once a year type of thing, but I think the more that you are able to reflect and check in with yourself, the better the relationship can be.
Yeah.
And you can really strengthen it, because you're just constantly like, I know exactly where I am and where I'm going, and I feel just really solid in that.
Yeah, and it doesn't have to feel like, you know, like this one opportunity or this one time at the end of the year, which I think, again, like a lot of people just in general do. It's like the end of the year, this is what I'm like supposed to do, where if we start to kind of get better at that intentional reflection and looking inward and rooting ourselves multiple times throughout the year, this kind of end of year reflection and potentially goal setting isn't going to feel as heavy. And it's still May, you know, it's still May, but the more you do it, the better you're going to get at it. And so by the end of the year, like it's just going to feel better.
Yeah. And again, like, as we always talk about, how that is then going to ripple into other things, you know, the relationships that we have with our families, our friends, our communities, so on and so forth. So it really does have this kind of domino effect where, again, if we are not paying that close enough attention to ourselves, we are going to just like go through the motions and again get kind of swept away and not feel like rooted and grounded and with our feet planted on the floor, knowing like, this is who I am, this is where I am, this is where I want to be, who I want to become, and all that stuff.
And the better you get at doing that, you can put more energy and effort into these other things, because you're already going to know how to do that for yourself too, right? Like so you practice and you get really good at that. It's not necessarily going to be something you need to think about, right? So then you can put your effort and your energy and maybe even, you know, more of your priority into working with, you know, I mean, anything else, but, you know, specifically your other relationships, because you already know how you manage your own emotions and how you show up. And so if you need to, you go and do it instead of being like, I don't know. Right. So you could just get better at kind of automatically doing it the more that you do this like rooted stuff and implementation and reflection. So
yeah, no, absolutely. I think that's such a great point, is that with any type of practice that you do, the more you do it, the more second nature it'll become. So
absolutely.
So with just talking about like rooted motherhood and, you know, really finding your footing in yourself, when you're reflecting on the relationship you have with yourself, what are some things that maybe you want to do specifically going into 2026 that is rooted? Like, what does rooted look like for you moving into 2026?
I also just love that reflection question just in general. So I encourage all of you to do that as well. Or to reflect on that, because I do. I really like that a lot. So because my yoga practice has actually been a little bit better this year, I think something that I want to be really rooted in is actually giving myself the opportunity to be in a space where I can be even more intentional than I try to be on a daily basis. You know, this kind of separates me from my kids and my, you know, my daily life. And I'm obviously going to have a newborn, right? So I that is something I want to be really rooted and intentional in, because that is going to allow me to also let go of overwhelm and rigidity and sleeplessness and like, right. So like some of these things that I know that are probably going to be there. So that's one thing. And then the other thing that comes to mind, we actually talked about this, I don't know if it was in the last episode or the time before that, is just slowing down. Like, I'm going to have 2 kids. I'm obviously still going to have my husband. Like, I want to bring in being slower And I'm not really sure what that's going to look like, but I think with this kind of intentional yoga practice and being slower, that I just want to be able to give more of that like slow pace, not just to myself, but to my kids and to my husband. Because we're going to have a newborn. I mean, I honestly, even if we didn't have another baby, like I would want to do that anyways. But I think especially with a newborn, like I don't want to be rushing all over the place. Like I just want to be really intentional with those things. So those are the things that came to mind for me. How about for you?
Yeah, I mean, I'm always all about more presence and just being really deliberate about how I'm spending my energy and where I'm putting my energy, and just being really thoughtful about that stuff. But yeah, I think just like maintaining what I've accomplished this year and just continuing with that. And one way that I would like to feel or be a little bit more rooted is being better at maintaining some of the habits, practices, routines that I still have, but I've like it's gotten fuzzy over the past month. So I'd really love to get back into those and be really consistent with it.
Great.
And like make sure that I'm, again, maintaining like getting enough sleep, having me time, having, just carving out all the things and prioritizing all the things that matter most to me.
Yeah.
So
great.
Yeah.
Love that so much. So I think this is a good opportunity as we kind of close out this episode of some reflection prompts for all of you to just have in your back pocket. And again, not just to do like now, as we enter into a new year, but these are all things that we can kind of think of and just changing the wording, right? Like, the next quarter, I mean, that sounds a little bit robotic, but, like we can still ask ourselves some of these questions, throughout the year. So the first one that comes to mind is, what did this year teach you about yourself, right? And again, like that can be a question you can ask yourself throughout the entire year. But I think we learn a lot about ourselves, and we don't slow down to kind of pay attention to those things. We've already said it, but what are you not carrying into 2026? But also, like, what are you carrying into 2026? So kind of reflecting on both of those, I think, would be great. And then the last one is, what version of you are you becoming instead of going back to? And this is actually something that I had mentioned to Monica before we even started the episode, that a lot of times you hear the saying like, new year, new me. And I want to encourage all of you, maybe not necessarily to be like a new me, but like, who are you becoming in this new year? Because you are still you, but how can we grow? How can we become? How can we really grow into who we are, not like completely change who we are?
Yeah, it's about evolving. It's about getting really, rooted in who you are. And I absolutely love that question. And I think, we talk about that all the time. We talk about how, specifically as it relates to motherhood, that motherhood isn't about, because we hear all the time, well, I just want to go back to who I was, or whether that be like my pre-baby body, or all these things. Like, I wish I didn't have the brain fog anymore, or I wish I wasn't so tired all the time, or I wish I had more time. Whatever it is, like all these things indicate like, I want to go back to my life that I had before I became a mother. And guess what? Like, you're a mom.
So, it's just not it. So we have to change that narrative. And because you're not necessarily turning into someone new. Like, you're still going to be a mom, on January 1, just like
Yeah.
you were December 31st,
Yeah.
right? And
it's just a more enhanced, more elevated,
Yeah.
evolved person. Like
Yeah.
I don't know, I feel like you're becoming more whole.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah.
I absolutely love that last question. And honestly, like if you want to throw in the comments, like what are some maybe reflection questions that you have that you've been using for a while, some new ones that you would love to share with us? I mean, we
We're
would
always
love
open.
to see
Yeah.
some of those. So
Yeah, for sure.
yeah.
I definitely very much enjoyed this episode. I kind of said it at the beginning that these are things that I really enjoy talking about that I don't think we slow down enough, just as a society in general, to really express and to deep dive into. So we really hope that this episode resonated with you and you can take some of this stuff into 2026. Or again, if you're watching this in any other year, you could take it into whatever year you're going into. But again, if it resonated with you, please like, subscribe, come hang out with us. We drop a new episode every Friday. You can find us on Instagram, beyond.being.mamas. And anything else?
Thanks for being in the lounge with us.
We'll see you next time.
Bye.